absolutely knackered. Do you not have any idea how difficult it is to shout in that voice for 6.5 minutes? You know what the worst thing is? People in IRC can never come up with any decent questions. Dear Murloc, what's your favourite phrase of pizza? It was terrible. The Murloc just walked out of the door after that. He was blithering more than usual. He was very angry. Apparently he was exposing himself to random people on the street as well. It was rather atrocious. I think he might have been carted off to the local drunk tank. Not surprising, really. I believe he was drinking cognac out of a polished skull at one point, which I believe was one of our listeners that we banned from the channel earlier. Oh well, it was his own problem, I guess. We can never really restrain the Murloc. He's a dangerous soul, but we can't really get rid of him either. He threatens death upon everyone if we try. So it's just easier to allow him 6 minutes of the show every week, let's be honest. However, if you continue to ask really terrible questions, then he has promised that he will be going back to pre-recorded. Oh, yes. People wouldn't want that now, would they? Oh, no, not at all. Terrible. Ladies and gents, let's see if you can provide something a little better. It's the illusion of choice! It's the illusion of my throat being in a reasonable state to continue the show. I can guarantee you that is an illusion. Let's see what we have. We've got some interesting ones. There was one particular one here that intrigued me. I think this could be a reasonable topic to explore. So let's have a look. See what this has to say. Now, it's funnily enough about the Wii, and yet it has something to do with Nintendo. And wow. Huh. So, let's talk about it. Hey, so like... right, okay. First things first. So, like, I've pre-ordered a Black Wii. So, have you or haven't you? Or have you done something that's similar? So, like, is not acceptable in written word. You horrible person. Anyway. I bought a Black Wii. And I plan to stop myself falling back into playing 3.3 in Cataclysm. Unless heaps of friends demand it, by replacing my MMO social gaming desires with Monster Hunter 3. Now, we don't care about the rest of that. Do you think this is a foolhardy goal or doable? If you don't know much about Monster Hunter 3's online, it has an option to set up private servers that then have lobbies and instances within. Lots of online communities for it, even English ones with the Japanese region. It has open matchmaking plus arena play, and best of all, the encounters all have advanced AI. Much more advanced AI, in fact, than the earlier installments. All of this combined with hardcore player base, best in the time zone, that has me excited. Do we think this is a good idea? Well... Here's the thing. I think it's reasonable to try and replace World of Warcraft with something that is not World of Warcraft, and preferably not an MMO at all. Anyone that tries to replace World of Warcraft with something that is like World of Warcraft will invariably get disappointed, which is the reason stuff like Ion and Age of Conan and Warhammer Online had bad retention rates when it came to WoW players, because people who played WoW ended up pining for things. They were pining for the Fjords, folks. Pining for the Howling Fjords. So they ended up back there, for whatever reason. And generally speaking, it was because of the easygoing nature of WoW and the polish. Yes, indeed, there is a lot of polish. Very few bugs in comparison to a lot of other MMOs. A lot of less things to deal with. The grind is easier. They don't have to get confused and lost. No, it's so hard. Now, the biggest success that I've personally had with replacing WoW has been with stuff that's not been like WoW. Say, EVE Online, nothing like WoW. Or DDO, also nothing like WoW. Both of these games I've played for a reasonable length of time. Now, if I have occasionally attempted to replace it with something that is like WoW. Like, say, Warhammer. That lasted me a month. Yeah, and then I went back to WoW. Now, in my opinion, the best way to deal with, hey, I don't want to play WoW, but I want to play something that's vaguely MMO-ish, is to play something completely different. Monster Hunter is a good bet. Monster Hunter, for those of you who aren't aware, is a very, very popular title in Japan. It's getting quite popular over here. There's actually a couple of cafes in London dedicated to playing Monster Hunter. I kid you not. Cafes where you can bring in your PSP and go play Monster Hunter. It's on the PSP, it's on the PlayStation 2, and they're bringing out a version for the Wii and probably next-gen consoles at some point. Now, this game is a raider's dream. And the reason it's a raider's dream is because it's all about killing big monsters. Now, it's way more skill-based. Hey, it's a multiplayer game as opposed to a massively multiplayer. Everything that you do is based on your skill with the weapons that you have. It's very hard. It's very unforgiving. You have to aim your weapons. It's all done in sort of beat-em-up action style. However, there is loot, there is crafting, and there are quests just like you would expect in MMOs. There's no traditional leveling up. Everything's done via stats and weapons, and of course, primarily, your own skill and ability. So you have to fight these huge monsters, and they've all got AI and different things you've got to learn, and different phases and so forth. Just kind of like WoW, but it's a lot more involved. As opposed to pressing a button and just waiting for a spell to cast, you have to swing your sword, actually hit the thing, actively dodge out of the way. If you get hit, you can expect to lose a lot of life. Now, to me, that does fix a lot of the problems that I have with WoW in terms of the interactivity, in terms of the combat system not being quite up to scratch, in terms of the AI being non-existent, and stuff like that. Also, it has really big swords, and you get to craft most of your weapons, which I think is very, very cool. Now, I'm not going to blither too much about Monster Hunter. If you want to hear about that, there is a review of Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, which I did on Gaming the System. You can go and have a look at that if you're interested in Monster Hunter. But it brings up the point, which I find rather interesting and I think very relevant to anyone that's wanting to take a break from WoW, is go play something that's not WoW or even remotely similar to WoW. Because if you go play something similar to WoW, you will invariably find you are disappointed. It's the same problem I had with Aeon. I played Aeon at a friend's house, and it's like, yeah, this looks really nice. It looks great. Nice noises on the combat system, but let's be brutally honest here, it is essentially World of Warcraft. The quests are the same, the combat is the same, and I don't care about it for that reason. Because, hey, I've played World of Warcraft and done the combat and everything to death. I don't want to do the same thing in a different game. I want something different. I want a new experience. I don't like that repetition. So I'd recommend that to anyone. So, suggestions, if you want to take a break from World of Warcraft. Well, there's a new game out called Borderlands. Just came out today on the PC in the EU. It came out on Monday in the US, and it came out a week before on consoles. It's a RPG FPS title. You can hear an awful lot more about it on the Octel and Hordak show. But, needless to say, if you like loot and you like killing stuff, it's got talent trees, it's got XP, you can drive around in buggies and stuff, and it can get randomly generated guns that shoot shurikens and lightning. Yes, you can. That's pretty cool. Also, Torchlight. Torchlight is a new game by Runic. You may be familiar with Runic. They rose from the ashes of the Mythos team. You may remember Mythos. Yes, they have guys that were involved in the original Diablo games. Oh yes, they even have the same composer. Torchlight, available right now, very cheap. It's a single-player hack-and-slash action RPG. It's very nice to look at. If you like WoW's graphic style and you want to see that taken to the next level, it's like WoW crossed with The Incredibles. That's what it looks like. Go have a look at it. It's very cheap. It's available for something like £12 or $16, $17 off of Runic Games' website. Alternatively, you can find it on Steam. It's got a very cool crafting system. If you like Diablo, you will like this game. Just a couple of alternatives, folks. I would recommend to everyone taking regular breaks from World of Warcraft because it helps you appreciate it better when you get back. Just bear this in mind. WoW in terms of MMOs is a very good game, but WoW in terms of games is not a very good game. We've got a lot of repetition, a lot of nonsense within the game. WoW actually is one of the big reasons why MMOs are decried as being boring, grindfest treadmill games that are only appealing to compulsive players and the addicted, quote-unquote. Well, the best way to appreciate it is to look for the challenging content and do it in spurts. Don't play constantly, it'll grind you down. It'll also narrow your horizons, and I think that's a very unfortunate thing to do. There are a lot of good games out there, folks. WoW is one of them, but I feel that you should play a whole bunch of different games, just get a little bit of variety in there, and you will enjoy your gaming more. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. I've got time for some shout-outs, assuming my voice holds up, which you probably won't. There won't be a lot of shouting in these shout-outs, I tell you. themurloc@gmail.com, email themurloc@gmail.com. Alternatively, you can send me a PM in the IRC channel, irc.mmorc.com, # WoW Radio, or you can tweet me, that's @TotalBiscuit, @TotalBiscuit. Send me those shout-outs, do them for the next few minutes, folks. In the meantime, remember that I do another show by the name of Gaming the System. There's a new episode due out at the end of the weekend, most likely. Got a lot of good stuff on there, and we do have all of the rest of our fine shows on WCRadio.com. Check them out. Subscribe to our iTunes feeds, and we would appreciate it if you'd leave some comments and ratings on iTunes. That's very helpful for us. Very good indeed. Right. Limus. That is not a shout-out. That is a single letter. Therefore, you are not getting anything. Shout out to Torchlight and its ARPG Goodnuts. That's from Real Cool Guy. A shout out to Ben Woodward and one to myself for getting Star Caller and being Algernon 10 Plex. Yes, you can have that, indeed. Hey TV, a shout out to Tim Curry for doing amazing voice work for Brutal Legend. Also, may I just say this, just for the sake of saying it. Decapitation! Such a good game. Oh, God. Also, a shout out to Botal Tisket for always reporting the best of the news for Update News. Whoop. Yes, quite. A shout out to Borderlands copy that's waiting for me after work. That's from Tide Caller. He was involved in making the graphics for our website. He is a cool guy. A shout out to Steves and Looper for completing the Netherwing grind, finally. And now have both epic flying mounts. Congratulations again. That's from Steves and Cadgar EU. There you go. Can I get a shout out to Neri on Thunderlord US? Please rage more, we find it funny. That's from Kraken Zero. Shout out to Hobgoblin, Glug Glug Glug, that's from John Q, who's one of the Knights of Ni at the Bloodstock Festival. Oh yeah, metal. A shout out to Mercurior, Proven Nax and Sarth, plus parts of Ulduar is the new 5-mans. I have no idea what that is. A shout out to Borderlands for being simply epic. Yes! He did just say epic! First time pressed at this show. Can I get a shout out to Bodum's son? That's from Tumar. Hopefully that's not actually a tumour. That would be rather unpleasant. Let's see what's in the email box, folks. Perhaps it's magical, perhaps it's mystical, and perhaps it's run-of-the-mill. Most likely. In the meantime, a shout out to Azeroth United. This is from Brigwin. Here's a reminder, folks. Azeroth United. They are raising money for Child's Play. Now, I have been provided, if I can find the damn thing, with some special codes that you can use on Swagdog if you donate money to Child's Play using the Hearts, Hands and Voices chip-in donation page. That's the name of the whole thing. You can go to it via AzerothUnited.com. That is AzerothUnited.com/HHV. Yes, HHV. Now, if you donate, you can use one of these cool discount codes, which I'm not going to give out yet because they are not quite ready. They will start next week. So what I'll do is I'll give them out now. Give the first one out now. And this will be activated in a few days. Yes, a few days. That's the 2nd of November. You'll be able to use this on Swagdog, which is the place that does the customized guild t-shirts. Very nice. So, if you use the following code, Child's Play 173, that is Child's Play 173, after you've donated to Child's Play via the Azeroth United group, that's AzerothUnited.com/HHV, then you can use one of those codes to get a discount. Very nice. So shout out to Brigwin and to Azeroth United for the good cause raising of money stuff. Shout out to Dota for wasting so much of my time in the mountains. Really, were you playing it in the mountains, or did you just make that up, Brett? I think you made it up. I think you're trying to deceive me! Most possible. Most possible indeed. A shout out to Brains, Whiskey and Metal. That's from B. Woodward. All of the above are required. And one last shout out. A shout out for my Twitter feed, apparently, for mentioning great deals like World of Goo birthday sale and Stalker cheaply. That's from Croax. Yes, you should subscribe to my Twitter feed for information like that. Right. I'm about done. Yeah, I'm about done. I'm about to fall over. I need some coffee. I had to stay up and play Borderlands all night. Thank you ever so much for listening to my show. As always, you are a fantastic audience, with the exception of the guy who thinks I raise too much money, and the exception of the guy who thinks I'm the biggest whiner in World of Warcraft. You can go away. Everyone else, you can stay. Thank you ever so much. Have a fantastic Halloween, folks. And I will see you next week on Blue Please on WoW Radio, WCRadio.com. Good night.